I chose this subject today, this afternoon, because I finished a video I wrote on the first death penalty in the Third Reich, to be carried out, that is. And I thought, yeah, that's quite an interesting subject, particularly as I've done a number of videos on executioners, which I did largely last year, about beginning of last year. And so therefore I think that this is quite relevant in some ways. I think also it's possibly also relevant to modern day thinking as well. It has its relevance in today's world also. Anyway, so the Third Reich is particularly well known for the amount of people it murdered. And having said that, I mean, the overwhelming bulk of the murders committed during the Third Reich were secret. And so, for example, if you have the Holocaust, it has the highest security classification, RS, top secret, I suppose, is the equivalent. It wasn't secret to people who were out there, but in theory it was secret. You had the other killings which took place all over Nazi-occupied Europe, and that was meant to be secret. But the same time, however, there's also the deterrence factor, which was built in to the Nazi system. And so the deterrence factor is the use of violence this was the same, for example, Mussolini used it, or Putin uses it. It's the violence which makes people too afraid to actually to oppose the regime, and in that case it has to be given the maximum amount of publicity possible. Now, as far as the death penalty is concerned, it's a matter of theory. If or not just the death penalty, but any punishment, is it there as to act as a punishment, so to speak, a retribution of society, or is it there as a deterrent? And in this respect, we have a problem, because if you take the idea is that it's meant to be a society getting their revenge. Sorry, I don't mean it's revenge, but I'm just saying, no, it's inverted commas, on the culprit. Or is it deterrent? Now, things with deterrent, if you've got a terrorist, they'll go around leaving bombs everywhere. So it doesn't make any difference. You have a death penalty, or you give them a £25 fine and ask them not to do it again. On the other hand, if you take the case of people parking illegally, if the death penalty was introduced for illegal parking, and I'm not suggesting it should be, then I'm pretty certain it would never happen again. Indeed, I remember seeing an expose on the television about 35 years ago, but they said that if there's some, I think it was in London, 5 to 10 people then died every year because ambulances couldn't get to them because of illegally parked cars. And if the death penalty were introduced for illegal parking, that might actually get rid of these 5 to 10 people every year. Anyway, I'm just using that as an extreme example, and but I think it makes the point quite well. Under the Weimar Republic, the death penalty was in the phase of being abolished completely, I think. In Prussia, in the last 5 years of the Weimar Republic, there was only one person executed, and that was the mass serial killer Peter Korten, sorry. And in his case, the crimes were so bad that it's difficult to actually think of another form of punishment that would have been suitable for him. In 1931, now the first person to be executed in the Third Reich, his name was Ernst Reiss, and he came from a very poor background. He was born in 1905 in Berlin-Charlottenburg, and hello to Hamburg. He was in Schamberg, Berlin-Charlottenburg, and he came from a very poor background. 13 kids were born, only 3 survived infancy, and he decided to pull himself out of his poverty by committing by theft. And in those days, in fact, and most of you probably remember this, used to have the postman used to come around, and in some countries the postman would have cash on them, and they would if you got your social security benefit, your unemployment benefit, or something like that, or you could have money being sent to you, or things of this nature, and then you could the postman would give you your cash like that. So now these letter carriers or mail carriers who would go out, he decided what he would do. He would burgle one of these people. So he rented a room. He's found a room to rent in a different district of Berlin. He sent the landlady out allegedly to have his glasses fixed. Now the previous day he'd gone and using a false name, he had arranged for 5 marks to be sent to using another false name. Can you see me? Sorry. Can you see me? Just write yes or no. I've noticed that my computer has just gone down. Are we still up? Please, somebody just write yes or no. Yes, okay, good. Sorry, the computer's completely gone, so I won't see messages as they come through. What did I say? Yes, so he had arranged for this money to be sent to him. He sent the landlady out. The letter carrier came round with the 5 marks for him. He had to give an identity. He invited him into the flat, and then he hit him over the head, meaning just to steal money from him. But instead he killed him. The victim fell onto a chaise-longue and he died. And therefore, he took the money out, which was 13,500 Reichsmarks, and with that he cleared off. Now he went off to Italy, and he had the aim of taking a boat from Genoa to go to South America. He took his 2 sisters with him, and having said that, they didn't take the police very long at all to get onto his trail, and they did this because he left a shirt in the room, in the flat. There was a laundry mark on it. Now, in those days, you used to take your shirts to the laundry, and they didn't have washing machines. And from the laundry mark, they traced it to him, and an international arrest warrant was issued. And within 1 week, less than that, in fact, he was arrested. 4 days it was. 4 days he was arrested. Sorry, I haven't even got my notes now, and I was going to read you what the newspaper said at the time. I left it open, but never mind. We'll have to do that some other time. You'll have to see the video for that. Anyway, so his lawyer advised him to just tell the truth. The lawyer said, okay, he's not likely to get the death penalty, because it was manslaughter. He didn't mean to kill him as such. And so he was extradited from Italy back to Germany, put on trial. He got the death penalty, but as these death penalties were a bit of a formality, they weren't actually being carried out. So he got a stay of execution almost immediately. Now, in 1932, there were elections in Prussia. Now, Germany was a federal state, as it is today, but Prussia made up roughly 2/3, approximately, of the country. So the other states made up 1/3 of the country, and yes, please. And the elections of the summer of 1932 didn't produce any result. There was no government possible. The Nazis actually were the largest party. You had this sort of the centrist democratic parties got less than half of the vote. The communists, and then I would say the DNVP together, but no, it was not possible to form unless the Nazis and communists had done a deal. It wasn't possible to form a government. When I said Nazis and communists doing a deal, I'm saying that rather sarcastically. So there was something which is often being called the I'm trying to translate this into English now. The takeover of power by Franz von Papen. You'll remember him from other videos I've done and other things. he was the person largely responsible for bringing Hitler to power. He was in charge in Prussia. It was a provisional sort of government. It was not even provisional. It was appointed by the central government. So the state government of Prussia had been suppressed. This is really important, actually, so why the Nazis took over, because many of the things that happened during Nazi times had already happened in the Weimar system, but it happened in the Weimar system because no government was actually possible. Anyway, so it would be Hindenburg would appoint Papen to be the commissioner, if you like, for Bavaria. And anyway, so they formed a little provisional cabinet, and all the rest of the case of Ernst Reiss came up, and they decided that nothing could be done. They need to get a proper government put in Prussia, and then they could make decisions like this. Now, Hitler was granted power by the wealthy conservatives around the Hindenburg, and then Goering was appointed to be minister president for Prussia and in charge of the Prussian police, amongst other things. This was a decision which really it was dreadful for democracy in Germany, because it was Goering then who managed to wangle the falsification of the election results, which was produced by the fact that he had control over the police, etc., arresting people didn't like, from social democrats and communists and others. And one of the things was he now had the power of giving a person a reprieve or not. And of course he didn't. He stopped the stays of execution, and he then said that this Ernst Reiss was to be executed. And my plan, before my computer went down, was to actually read you the reports. Now, Ernst Reiss was executed. He was sent to Plötzensee prison in the evening of the 8th of May 1933, and he was executed at 6 o'clock the following morning by Karl Gröpel. I've done a video on Karl Gröpel. And 8 minutes later, another person who'd been sentenced a couple of years earlier was also executed as well. Now, at the time of execution, the point of this here was to actually be a deterrent effect. And this is how this was seen. And the article I wanted to read to you said some words to the effect of that now the criminals will know their place, and honest citizens will be able to walk around the streets without fear of being killed. As it turned out, actually that wasn't true, because I mentioned earlier the serial killer called Peter Kürten, who was from Dusseldorf, the Dusseldorf vampire. But only in 1936, there was another series of murders, which was called the Sandman killings. This was a person who started, a serial killer who started when he was 60, and he killed largely young boys wearing sailors' uniforms or something similar. It would seem that he either strangled them. Even today, it's not quite certain how he actually managed to do this. But he was arrested, of course, at the end, and he was executed. But the fact that there was a Nazi it wasn't really much of a deterrent. Now, to use the case of the male killings, there were 92 examples of male men being assaulted in 1934. For the money that they were carrying. So that actually increased under Nazi Germany. So it is to be expected that in the years 1933 you would see an increase in crime because of the poverty and the desperation that existed. But according to official statistics, it did actually decrease in Nazi Germany. But it could also be argued that it decreased because there was official forms of violence that people who wanted to be violent could use. That's number one. And the second thing is that there were cases. I mean, it's a very famous case of the lawyer who went to plead the case, one of the people who'd been arrested in May 1933, and then he was beaten up and then forced to walk around the streets of Munich with a sign on his front. I saw in the Imperial War Museum here in London only last week. There was his daughter there's a video of his daughter explaining how her father actually reacted to this. So this is something I would say that the Nazis being in power didn't necessarily stop street crime and the crime of this nature. Although I would also argue that there was a far greater deterrent. Now, if we are to believe the amount of people who got sent to concentration camps and the likes, particularly in the year 1937, you see lots of people who were rounded up because they were destitute or whatever, and put into camps. And this was either cleaning up the streets or trying to stop people actually committing crimes somewhere down the line. It really has to be, though, emphasized that there were these official forms of violence. Now, Nazi Germany largely executed, not really so much now thinking of the criminals, but I'm now thinking of people who were in the resistance to Nazism, and there were tens of thousands of these people, and there were, for example, as early as 1934, the special courts were set up, the People's Courts. I did a video on a person called Ernst Reiss. He was the only judge at a special court to actually face legal proceedings after the war. The only one. I'm sure Freisler, if he'd lived long enough, he'd have got the death sentence, but he was killed in an air raid in 1945. But these people, also the resistance, these cases were made into sort of, maybe not show trials. We had the show trials after the 20th of July 1944, but they were given a lot of publicity. And the reason for this is the terror effect, to frighten people who might be thinking of resisting against the Nazis. Now, the first people who were judicially murdered, executed for political offences, that happened in Hamburg in 1933. There had been 4 people. I'm pretty certain I know I've done a video on it, and I think it's actually open to everybody. But there was the case. I can't even remember now. But did I upload the video of the judge? But anyway, that I think I've uploaded explaining the back. Yes, I did. Martinson Block. Yeah, I did that. Sorry, that's been published. And so the people responsible, the judges, who were then started passing death sentences on people who were opposed to the regime. Now, in the case of the Altona people who had been taking part in the Altona, they were clearly innocent of the charges which they were accused of doing during these riots, which had taken place in the summer of 1932. Some Nazis had been killed in the streets, as well as other people, and it was in almost all probability it was the police who actually shot the Nazis, not the alleged communists, because not all of them were even communists. They were just working class people from this neighborhood. To sort of summarize, the whole point in Nazi Germany of the death penalty, which was publicized, not the murders, but the death penalty. I mean, say it's in the case of somebody like Reiss, it's understandable. I mean, he killed somebody. He left the victim, Mr. Schwan. He may well have had a family, I don't know, but that his widow could have been living in poverty, just as Reiss had lived in poverty following the death of his father. So that he you could say he deserved to die. But I mean, most people didn't. They hadn't committed anything. But the whole point is to be a deterrent in order to either frighten people into conforming with the regime, and not so much, I think, as punishment, in my opinion. But that's that would be my interpretation. Right. Okay. I'll have a look at some of the. Sorry, I can't. I've got a problem. Oh, here they are. Sorry. I can't. Oh, I've worked out how it's working. Okay. Good. So hello, Mike. Hello, Craig. And right. So I'm going to try and see the comments. as much as normally. See, I have my computer on in front of me. I don't know why this has happened, but I do. I was actually writing things before this, and I was also I started putting the videos together, and my computer actually doesn't have a big enough memory for the videos now. And for this is, I should actually do something about it, because I want to actually upload higher definition videos. When I mean the stuff that I filmed myself, okay, the old photographs and what have you, that doesn't make much difference. They don't take up much memory. But if I get the films which I've actually done in places, for example, now in this video I've got here, I was doing today, I've got a film from Berlin amongst other places, and that then that needs more memory than the computer's got. Anyway, it's crashed. So sorry, so that's the reason. Anyway, so hello, John got me on live, and Teddy is in Hamburg, and Jason, hello, and John says about the Reichstag burning. Right, in the case of the burning of the Reichstag, which I also have done a video on, and which certainly the person who was he got the death sentence for it, he certainly didn't do it. Sorry, he might have done a bit of it, but he didn't do the whole thing. I mean, that's utterly obvious. I know that this for van der Lubbe, initially it was thought that the Nazis sort of did it, and then it went towards van der Lubbe. But I think the evidence is overwhelmingly that this was done by Goering, or at least the SA. It was the Nazis who actually did it, and then they used the burning of the Reichstag as the excuse to say that this was a communist revolution. I mean, totally absurd, really. And then they used that. Then they had the Reichstag Fire Act. It's also worth remembering, though, the Reichstag Fire Act was not the first edict which prevented political parties meeting and things like that. One had been done 3 weeks earlier. Again, I have already done a video on this one. Right, sorry. Anyway, right. Oh dear. So hello, Elmer, and yeah. John's made a really good point here. The Heydrich was the head of Interpol, and as ridiculous as that may seem today, the Interpol building was the place where Wannsee Conference was held. Indeed, the Wannsee Conference was going to be held somewhere else. I was walking through the streets in Wannsee in the summer of 2023, and I made a video of the place. It's just somebody's house today, or building. I think it's their flats inside. But they moved it to that building, Große Wannsee, forgotten the number now, but that really nice, attractive building where it was. And the reason they did that was because of the food. They could actually cater there, which they couldn't cater to the same standard in the other building. And that may seem utterly, isn't it amazing? Amazingly horrible. I think that they're discussing the deaths of millions of people, and they have to have a place where there's catering on site. Right. Oh, yeah. Computers aren't meant to last. It's 70 degrees and sunny in Virginia. Actually, here in the UK today it was 18. I don't know what's that. Don't know what that is. That's about 70 Fahrenheit, isn't it? Something like that. And John mentions a guy's daughter is on a video called Hitler, who was his neighbor. Right, yesterday I uploaded a video about somebody who was, I think referring to this, somebody who was claimed he was related to Hitler. He claimed he died a couple of years ago in Duisburg, but he lived in Görlitz, and it's all a fraud. He didn't. It's all a hoax. He wasn't related to Hitler. He claimed he was the great-grandson of Hitler's father's brother. Now, I do accept that there is some possibility that Hitler's father. I'm being very careful to say that Hitler did try to eliminate some of the records of his family in the area of Dollersheim. So that is That's true. But how he managed to liquidate the memory of somebody like I just don't see how that was possible. I mean, he could have killed. He would have been dead by then. People can be killed, but to liquidate the memory and all trace of them is far more difficult. But no brother of Alois Hitler has ever turned up. But that's the number one thing. The number two thing is he wasn't even called Hitler. He'd have been called Schicklgruber, or Hiedler. So that thing fell apart. Now, what I did this video because I got really wound up by these newspaper things. I saw this come through my feed, and I thought that's a nonsense. It was like this Jack the Ripper hoax last month. It's something like this. These papers, you expect journalists to show a little bit of integrity and think, hang on, that's just not possible. I don't mind if somebody gets conned by something that's connable, for example, but to be something so simple as to actually check, did Alois Hitler have a brother or not? I mean, the person who made he didn't even say what the father's first name was. I mean, anyway, so I think that's what John was referring to. Right, and yes, I did upload a video of the judge, says Elmer's mum, and right, okay, good. So 18 degrees centigrade, 64 degrees. Okay, right. I'm sorry, I could if I have the calculator, I could have done that. We got taught at school how to convert to Fahrenheit from centigrade and back. John does mention there are a few Hitler relatives around. Yes, there's 5 that I'm aware of. I mean, there might be more, but I'm only aware of 5. Okay. Elmer's mum is suggesting that Alois supposedly had a lot of illegitimate. He might well have done, because Hitler's father was up to no good. His first missus was a lot older than he was, and so he got a young lass pregnant, and then he had to marry her. But he got a divorce first. And whilst this other, second number 2, was there, he got somebody else to take care of the house, and he got her pregnant while the other one was still alive. So anyway, I think that's a bit immoral, but that's the way he was. And that's anyway, good. So thanks very much for watching. 50 degrees in Tacoma, Washington. I know that is. There's a bridge there. It fell into the water in 1938. The Tacoma Bridge. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I hope you found that interesting. What's tomorrow? It's Friday, is it? No, it's not. It's Thursday. I might do a video again tomorrow if I come up with a suitable theme. I might do it on the Holocaust. In fact, we'll see anyway. Okay, thank you. 1940 was the Tacoma Bridge. Sorry. Okay, thanks very much. Thank you, Elmer's mum. Thank you. It might have been better if I'd had some of my notes in front of me, but anyway, they went. Thank you. Thanks, Senya. Okay, all the best. Bye for now.